Good afternoon. Once again, book lovers of the internet, welcome back to my channel. I am BookNerd802, and in this video I am going to be reviewing a chapter and a prologue really. A subscriber of mine called Pebs sent me as an email. It consists of 16 pages so far, but there are several chapters which follow. I read them in just a couple of minutes and took some notes, and in this video I am going to be giving Pebs some ways in which he could make his story better. Um, so far, from what I have read, it's a 4 out of 5, but there are many things that can be changed to improve the story. This is all um, feedback, by the way. It's meant to be um, criticism, which will help to improve your story rather than to demotivate you in any way. So I hope that if you are watching, you heed my advice, and I will be sending you my points as an email as well. It's all meant to be constructive, and there's nothing destructive about it, nothing personal either, just a bit of a heads up. But yeah, basically, some things I have to say about the prologue is I was confused as to how entire cities of man could be found amidst the vast peaks of the Shining Range. When you wrote that few had been brave to venture there, it was a bit confusing. I feel as though you can express this more clearly to avoid confusion. Go into more detail as to how maybe the Shining Range came to be or how people managed to live there. I know that it's just a prologue, but at the end of the day, things have to click, things have to make sense, and they have to be evident. Don't assume that the readers have what you have in mind. And from an outsider's perspective, it's all very new, so what you don't say will not be understood, basically. Then again, don't be overly descriptive, which isn't something you did, by the way, because that too could confuse the readers just as much as few details can, basically. Um, I understand that describing a character does not come easily to everyone, but try to write in a way that really paints a picture, so use less punctuation and focus on one thing at a time. This was very evident that you did not do when you were describing King Berold, for instance. Overall, it was an okay description, but you could have done it in a way which flowed better. I feel as though there were many stops there, and the trail of thought couldn't be um, that easy for the reader to follow. So elaborate upon the points you make rather than shrugging them off as though they're unimportant after a couple of words or so. Um, so yeah, there is also the way in which you fixed your paragraphs in red, which I found to be fantastic. I think the editing process must be going very well. You have a way of rearranging sentences to sound more better, to fit the fantasy genre in a more fantastic way. But then you did not continue doing so in the first chapter, which I found to be quite a shame, but best to do whatever helps you write um, in a way you are satisfied with the most. So you also found a fantastic way to instill suspense in your readers by giving context as to what happened in the war. So you also added context by mentioning the history of the country and also what might have happened. There is suspense over there. And also you brought up the suspense with regard to King Berold's intentions with the people that were never defeated, with the enemy of the country. So also suspense was brought up with King Berold's Secret of the Room, even though you delved into that in chapter 1 even further. So I don't think that you used the term autonomous well to describe the guard's existence. You described that as autonomous, but unless you had sarcasm in mind, it did not fit what you were saying earlier at all. So perhaps find a better adjective to describe the guard's existence. Now to move on to chapter 1, just a couple more pointers, by the way, just a bit of a tiny mistake. Father's eyes, it's meant to have an apostrophe between the R and the S because it's a possessive pronoun, the eyes belonging to the father, so you have to put an apostrophe there. I thought that the way you described Kyo's situation was fantastic, by the way. However, do try to make a distinction between the last thing he remembered doing and the context he unwillingly found himself in, because that can be confusing for the reader, even if you had in mind to confuse your audience for them to relate better to Kyo's situation. Wouldn't King Berold need a key or perhaps a form of magic to open the door if there are prisoners behind it, or if he is trying to hold something captive? By the way, I understand that the monster mentioned is also kept behind bars, but at the same time, this does not make sense. There is a bit of a continuity error over there because you mentioned that King Berold killed everybody who worked on this project and their families, and yet the people still working in the room, they can apparently leave this room whenever their heart's desire. So they can just leave the room, and the secret will be um, could be revealed easily, basically. So yeah, a bit of a continuity error, which I think you can fix very easily. And I'm also not quite sure what the purpose of the wooden slab is. So then there is also the issue of you describing a man's hand um, to be similar to razor sharp claws. That is how it came across. I think you could have used punctuation and sentence structure better in that regard. So just a bit of I wouldn't call it an error necessarily, just the way in which you described it could have been better, more clear for the readers to understand and appreciate, to paint a better picture in their minds. So this segment can be described better, definitely, the one I mentioned with the razor sharp claws of the beast. Okay, so yeah, with regards to the king's room, there are certainly some errors you can fix, but it's a very interesting concept as well. That much I can give you, and I certainly think that this room has a lot of potential, and its purpose to build suspense was definitely served. So yeah, just at some moments you just have to elaborate even better. Even though you might think that if you elaborate further on, the readers will be more satisfied. Sometimes there is better timing. There is a better time for you to express your thoughts about something without revealing too much. But what you do write still has to be clear for your audience to understand. I also enjoyed how we can see a shift in perspective with each paragraph so that we can understand both what Berold and what Kyo are up to simultaneously. Kyo is the protagonist of the first chapter alongside King Berold, by the way. This isn't something that I often come across, um, the narrative shifting from between two characters so quickly, so that was a bit of a breath of fresh air there. I found it to be clever, especially for audiences which might have a limited attention span. So perfect, keep that up. And some other things, if Kyo's blade slid into the tree's trunks with ease, then why would you then describe that he need to pull his sword clear, right? If it slid out with ease, then he wouldn't really need to pull on it or to tug on it. It would be very easy for him to just remove from the tree, I suppose. Maybe you can use a better verb there. Um, Something along the lines of picked up his sword after it shredding through the trees, maybe. As I mentioned, there is a fantastic amount of suspense built, not too many characters are introduced, and plenty happening at the same time. Overall, I would definitely refer to this as a great introduction. As I mentioned, this one gets a 4 out of 5 from me, which is a very good grade, honestly, a very good star rating so far. I do look forward to chapter 2, so do feel free to send me the second chapter. I will probably be reading and reviewing it as well. It has plenty of potential with regard to how it might continue, but not a bad start at all for a story which consists of many generic themes for forming part of the realm of fantasy. So I suppose those were my points with regard to what you can improve upon, Pebs, in your story. I wish you luck with your writing journey, and yeah, hopefully you can send me the second chapter via email, and I will send you these pointers as an email as well in response to your first chapter. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. Take a look at the rest of my content because why not? It's absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Thank you for watching, and bye, guys.